You just caught a glimpse of his skin suit. This is Lutsenko. Behind him is Ciccone, the white jersey, the best young rider. Fourth in line is Richie Port. Third in line is Jakob Fulsang. Sixth in line, or seventh, it is Thibaut Pinot. They're the three big hopes for the general classification. They need to throw everything at it. Bad day for Bennett. Very bad day for George Bennett. So unfortunate. The Kiwi was loaded up with bidons at just the wrong moment.
Well, they're on the top of this hill at 200 kilometres covered with 17 and a half to go. This is the best opportunity for the chasing group to close it down. 16 seconds. This is where the contenders like Fulsang, Port, Pinot have got to do everything they can to cross the gap, because if this group here gets across this plateau and starts the downhill, it's good night, Irene.
This is Gianni, not Irene at the front. It's Moscon who's charging, followed then by Van Baal.
You could see them in the background, just back of screen. You could spot the chase group. It's getting closer, 13 seconds. Nervous moments for the directors in the team cars. They're getting close. Still a lot of work to do to get this shut down.
It's never over until it's over. We've seen it a couple of times already with riders trying to join a breakaway. They're almost there. And riders from this group are being spat out the back door.
Starting to lose helpers.
That's how high the tempo is.
That's Fulsang, goes through and off the front. Who's coming through next? Richie Port it is. Reichenbach behind him. Pinot. More riders of Trek Segafredo. This is a team's time trial.
And the top of that little hill, you saw the 3D graphic. That is crunch time for the chasing group at 13 seconds. It's a long 13 seconds, and it's a small group, a really small group.
It's only really the favourites and a couple of helpers left in this group. Really time to get it shut.
Rigoberto Urán, it was his team that started it all. That is incredible. It might be Guillaume Martin, the Monte Group Goubert at the back.
Well, the gap, 200 metres on the road.
Not really
Dan
sure.
Martin, is it?
Fabio Aru.
Fabio Aru. 1-2-2 is Fabio Aru. And just in front of him is Sergio Anao. So Fabio Aru was in that group. He's been distanced from sitting on the wheels. That's how hard they're riding.
Well, had that tough little rise. They're on to that little downhill section now. And so tantalising. See this group riding in front. Yves Lampard comes through, keeping the pace high. Quib Cosby been doing a lot of work as well.
Kostelberger now for the Bora Hansgrohe team.
Nelson Oliveira pushing on for Nairo Quintana.
Into the tuck position.
Amador.
And it is Guillaume Martin. A flick of the elbow from Fabio Aru. They're in real trouble.
They're in huge trouble. That is the chase group right in front of them with Richie Port, Jakob Fulsang, Rigoberto Urán.
Meanwhile, for Fabio Aru, the good news is for UAE, his teammate Dan Martin, the Irishman, who's been a top 10 finisher, is in the front group.
For this group here, the only good news at the moment is that De Koning Quickstep have taken a back seat in that front group and starting to look after the interests of Elia Viviani and whoever's left to do a lead out.
Chasing group at 12 seconds, Rigoberto Urán, Thibaut Pinot, Richie Port, Jakob Fulsang. Fabio Aru will not be catching that group.
Importantly for support there, Mollema for Richie Port, Lutsenko for Fulsang. There's still some firepower in that group.
Ciccone, the white jersey, best young rider.
I think he's still there.
Think, likewise.
There's been a lot of riders jettisoned from that group in the chase, and they're just not quite able to get it closed. De Koning Quickstep, they're still committing Yves Lampard to driving the pace on the front.
Ciccone has lost contact with that group. You can see by the general classification he's slipping backwards.
Just looking at the fact that De Koning Quickstep are letting Yves Lampard ride on the front, the jersey of Alaphilippe is safe. but that as contenders off the back like they are, I think he's starting to think about GC, and I'm assuming that Enric Mas is also comfortably in this group.
I think he will be. So that is to the benefit of the entire Dakota Quickstep team. They're chasing all of the prizes. You can see the gap on the road. They're not closing it down. It's stabilised the gap for the last little bit. And for the riders in this group, it might start to go in the wrong direction.
I think it is going in the wrong direction. Race radio telling us 300 metres the gap between the two groups. Looks like the impetus starting to go out of it. They're trying as hard as they can, but they're starting to struggle.
It's not for lack of effort. This is Rudy Mollard. Is it at the back, number 53? No, it's David Goudot, the young climber David Goudot at the rear for Groupama FDJ. And number 163 in this group from Sudar Lotto, that is Jasper de Boost. He's not going to work.
No, he's got Caleb Ewan in the front, no. And now the car's going through in between. That signifies the gap is opening. Neutral spares follow through the official Tour de France director's car.
It was down to 12 seconds. It's back out to 23 seconds. Valverde with a flick of the elbow. Luke Rowe, I wonder what he had to say to Alejandro. Burkhardt, then Ost, then Quintana, then Yves Lampard, followed by Kwiatkowski, the next in the red and black colours.
The chasing group, they can't afford to lose their morale. It's yo-yoed, it was way out, it came back into 12 or 13 seconds. Pace here at the front are going to start to tire. They've got to keep pushing on, hope for just a lull in the pace that they can close back in. 14.5 kilometres to go.
One of the questions that has been asked regularly throughout the first week and in the lead up to the race, who's the leader at Movistar? Is it Quintana or Mikel Landa? It's Nairo Quintana because he's in Group 1. Mikel Landa is in Group 3.
Richie Porte just coming back off the front. The yellow helmet looking sideways, getting himself in. There is the crosswind. You can see it on the Union Jack flying. And their team, Ineos, has been doing some big damage.
At the back of the group for a starter with the bandages still on from the crash on day one, it's Jakob Fuglsang.
It looks like they put in their maximum effort on that little uphill trying to close the gap down completely. When they didn't get it shut, the gap has blown back out.
Ciccone in white, just in front of him, is Mikel Landa from Movistar. Yep. So no longer a two-pronged attack from Movistar. It's just one, it's just Nairo Quintana.
No, that is Group 3, 1 minute and 6 seconds behind the lead of the race. 650 metres between the leading peloton and the group with Pinot, Richie Porte, Jakob Fuglsang and Rigoberto Urán. So some big contenders for a possible podium in this Tour de France being ridden out of it at the moment on a quite innocuous looking transfer stage before the rest day.
Never a dull moment. Not when the wind springs up. In fourth position is the Colombian climber Bernal.
He doesn't miss moves like this.
He did. This is how he won Paris-Nice. Well, this was a big part of it. He was in the front, crosswinds.
Kilometres ago, Ineos came to the front with Luke Rowe, increased the pace, a little tester, and as soon as they knew it was the right moment in the finale, after the EF started it, Ineos are going about finishing it now.
This is Mike Turner, so at the back of this group, 35 seconds for the Thibaut Pinot group, which includes Richie Porte, Jakob Fuglsang, and also Rigoberto Urán. The white jersey group that also includes Vincenzo Nibali, Ciccone in this group at a minute 10.
Is Dylan Groenewegen still in this group? He was earlier, but I think he might have been offloaded on that little climb.
Yeah, well, either way, he's out of contention for the sprint finish.
This our chase group now at 40 seconds with Porte, Thibaut, Pinot, Fuglsang with Lutsenko in front of him, Rigoberto Urán, number 91. Back of that group, Godot, number 53, struggling to get the wheel.
Thibaut Pinot really struggling at the rear of the group as well. This, with 11 kilometres to go, a little bit more, it's going to be over a minute by the time they reach the finish.
It is looking like it. They got it into 12 seconds. That was as close as they got. And it seems that has really burnt this group. And they cannot get it closed.
Rally is in the front group for the sprint finish, so too is Michael Matthews. Peter Sagan we've seen. We think we've spotted Caleb Ewan. This is group number 3 that we're on board with.
That's Nelson Oliveira, who is just going out the back of that group.
Also at the back here from Dimension Data, Ben King, no surprise.
This is the group then with Landa.
Yes. So we know who the team leader is now.
Alexander Christoph also in this group, number 126 from UAE. Another sprinter missing from the front. Look like Colbrelli is in front, Viviani is there, and so is Caleb Ewan.
Another one in there, don't discount him. You'll like this, Greg Van Avermaet.
Well, I thought he might try and anticipate and go early. There's a lot of guys missing out of this front group who'd form the lead-out train. Could be becoming the perfect situation for a late attack. And for the sprinters want to go hard.
At the midway point on the stage, 100 kilometres to go, our discussion was the harder it is, the better it is for Greg Van Avermaet. Hard enough for you? It's hard. It's hard for these guys. What a demoralising day to go into the first rest day for number 71, Jakob Fuglsang. Likewise, 51, Thibaut Pinot, 91, Rigoberto Urán, and also the leader for Trek Segafredo, 131, Richie Portes. This is Rudy Millar at the back of the group for Groupama FDJ.
Now this just illustrates why you've got to consider every single stage of the Tour de France as crucial. It can happen at any given moment. On a day where we even thought there's not enough wind to really split it to pieces, you get the right gust of wind on the right part of the course, it suddenly opens up, and then team sees that opportunity to go on with it.
The gap is out to 750 metres, so they won't be able to see them. That is demoralising.
This will be a minute. This will be over a minute by the time they reach the finish.
I think we're heading north of 60 seconds. Sleep for the men in this group was all looking so positive for the man in pink, the Colombian climber, Rigoberto Urán. He had the confidence to put his team on the fronts. Now he's the one that is paying the price. Warren Barguil, the French national champion. He won't be sprinting to stage on us, but he will have a boost of confidence by being in this group. 62, the world champion. That is Alejandro Valverde. 2:16 at the back. That's the former under-23 world champion, Kevin Ludanois. At the front for De Koning Quickstep, it's the young Dane, Kasper Asgreen. This has gone from a day of transition, one for the sprinters, to a day where the general classification has taken a real shake-up. Kwiatkowski driving it for Ineos. They know that they are putting the sword to a few of the key rivals for the defending champion, Geraint Thomas.
Well, we've seen them do it in other tours before. They take the opportunity when it presents itself and then take full advantage. This is Pinot, number 51, one of the big losers of today, along with Fuglsang, Porte and Urán. Big contenders and massively caught out on this stage.
51. Often referred to as the lucky number in cycling. That is a myth. It's not a lucky number for number 51 in 2019. A minute and 10 seconds.
1 kilometre on the road, the gap between these two groups. It's just going to be a matter of how big a time gap is it, and it's now Sunweb on the front for Michael Matthews. Plenty of teammates.
5 riders from Sunweb in this diminished front group. They are the second best or equal best representative team.
On the wheel of Matthews, Caleb Ewan. Behind him, Peter Sagan to be flat out getting a slipstream there. So many riders here from Sunweb. 5 in a row for Michael Matthews. Under 2 kilometres to go. Caleb Ewan, Colbrelli has fought his way onto his wheel. Peter Sagan behind him. Ewan has got to watch out he doesn't get swamped and boxed in.
And Matteo Trentin, he is behind Alia Viviani, who has Max Richesi just in front of him.
Jasper Philipsen up here for UAE, no Alexander Christoph, but the young Belgian who was fifth a few days ago is here.
In the white.
He's tracking Viviani.
He is in the white, about 12th position.
Next to him, Viviani, just in front, Max Richesi. Sunweb in control. 3 men left in front of Michael Matthews. Caleb Ewan riding the slipstream of him. The battle on behind. Colbrelli, Sagan behind him. Someone else up alongside. And Wout van Aert.
He's there in the black and the yellow colours. Richesi is being stalked by Matteo Trentin. Oliver Narsson is there for AG2R. 1 kilometre. Wout the Magnificence.
Well, Wout van Aert, he showed us in the Dauphiné, he's got horsepower at his disposal. It was going to be all about Groenewegen today. So was stage 1 and Teunissen won it. Today, no Groenewegen. Wout van Aert survives, takes on the best sprinters, and beats them.
4 stage wins for the team, 3 different riders, plus the team.
Lacrosse world champion. It was a battle with Elia Viviani. From the overhead, in control at the front with Sunweb. They started to come. Caleb Ewan forced to go early when they went. He just got through the middle, and here he just started to fade. Van Aert in front. Viviani got over the top. Viviani just hit the front, and then Van Aert, he fought back. Caleb Ewan third. Michael Matthews fourth. It's the throw on the line that gets it. Van Aert, the extension. Viviani just hunched. That is the difference in the stage win. The Belgian, a much better throw over the Italian.
Which is not what you would expect given the track background of Elia Viviani. And the contrast between first and second, tears of joy to tears of disappointment. La Cathedral, Saint-Cécile, a day of prayers for those that lost time in the battle for the general classification, a day of celebration for Wout van Aert, and another win for Jumbo-Visma. Viviani in second, another third place finish for Caleb Ewan, Michael Matthews in fourth, Sagan was fifth, Phillips in sixth, Old Rally seventh, followed by Matteo Trentin, Oliver Naesen, and Greg Van Avermaet rounding out the top 10 on a day packed full of drama. Here's a look again at the general classification. Alaphilippe 112 ahead of the defending champion Geraint Thomas. Egan Bernal at 116. It's in Kruijswijk, who rode well again today. He's in fourth. Bookman is in fifth. Enric Mas continues to impress in fifth. Adam Yates likewise. Nairo Quintana is the man for Movistar. Dan Martin, very good. Giulio Ciccone, he's in 10th position at 2 minutes and 32 seconds behind, but he's heading in the wrong direction. His teammate Richie Porte almost 4 minutes behind. After the destruction by Simon de Montfort, the citadel in Saint-Marcel, they moved through to this region to be able to produce this town. The town was a subject of cruelty throughout the Inquisition as well, and was took a big part in the uprising against those practices. Throughout the Middle Ages, it was well known for its leatherwork and cloth and embroidery up until around 1920. And it is classified as one of the most beautiful towns in France. It's also a stopover on the way of St. James, and it has a well in the centre of the town which is covered, but the well goes to the depths of 113 metres. Also got a museum in there to sugar and chocolate. It doesn't sound too healthy, but sounds pretty tasty.
Sounds like it's worth a visit. 2 minutes 25 for our breakaway of 4. They raced in the first 54 kilometres of this stage through the department of the Tarn. They cross into the Tarn-et-Garonne, the 2 rivers that converge, and they'll end up in the Haute-Garonne as they come into Toulouse.
This is Rosetto at the front, his 3rd time in a breakaway. He's had the red number throughout this year's race, so he's had an opportunity to step up onto the podium. He collected the red number, incidentally, on the opening stage when he was in the breakaway with Greg Van Avermaet, who didn't spend too long on the breakaway, just did enough to collect the points for the King of the Mountains jersey and guarantee himself a spot on the podium. Out in front, holding on to a 2:25 advantage. It won't get too much more than that, I don't think. Let's take a look at Rigoberto Urán. He's been second in this race in the past. On stage 10, he lost a big chunk of time, but he's one of the sport's great characters. Louise Saint-Pierre and Saint-Paul. Moving along pretty quickly at this point, breakaway group. Tiny little village that they're going through, just a couple of hundred residents in this little village. Rigoberto Urán is a rider that would have been really disappointed with stage 10 as well. His team went to the front to try and shake things up, but they started an echelon, they couldn't finish.
There's been a number of analogies used to describe the way it went down for EF 2 days ago in the race into Albi. because they did start the hostility. Simon Clark got them up to the front and started putting the pressure on when the wind was building and starting to really hit them on a more open section of the course. And it has been said things like they started a fight they couldn't finish, they started a fire they couldn't put out. Even heard it said it's like walking up to the likes of a heavyweight boxer, punching him in the face and then standing there with your hands behind your back.
This is Michael Matthews. He'll be throwing some punches at the end, metaphorically, of the stage today. He's not one of the favourites to win the stage because it's just not difficult enough at the end. He wants a slightly uphill finish. But he looked a little flat on stage 10 when he was in a good position. He had really good team support around him for the first time.
He did, and each sprint is so different from every other. There's so many little factors that come in, and sometimes being led out and on the front is not ideal. And he had 4 teammates in front of him. Then it was him, then it was Caleb, but it was Michael Matthews and Caleb who looked to be struggling the most in the sprint, heavy, a bit bogged down, where the others came flying out of the wheels and over the top of them. I just think after the efforts they've made in the crosswinds and those tough little hills towards the end of the stage, maybe just riding at the front and getting a little less slipstream cost them coming right into the end, because there was that little uphill kick just before the sprint started, and the others just seemed to be coming with a little more momentum from behind. It was like the speed was going down at the front, and the others were able to anticipate well and come over the top.
A lot has been made about the socks when it was the team time trial. They measured the sock height. You can see the socks here of Michael Matthews. They are very high. It's not just about fashion. It doesn't come down simply to how they look. There's aerodynamics thought about in terms of those socks, and they're not normal cotton socks that you would buy at the bike shop. They make the claim with the aero testing that the socks will save them around about 3 watts in terms of power output required to go at the same speed that they may be going at. It's a claim that I can't confirm, but it's one that has been published a few times. With the peloton now into containment mode of the breakaway, let's go early and move into the media medal. The Tour media medal at the top of the table is George Bennett on 7 points. He currently leads. And then Geraint Thomas, Alex Dowsett, Dylan Groenewegen there on 5 points. Michael Woods on 4. They have one more category 4 climb to come on today's stage. It's just 2.5 kilometres long with an average grade of less than 4%. That one tops out at 90 kilometres to go, so they're still a fair way before they reach the base of that. Then 10 kilometres later on at 80 k's to go, there is the sprint for the points in the race for the green jersey. That intermediate sprint, and I'm looking forward to seeing who gets involved in that sprint from back in the peloton. There's still plenty of points up for grabs as it goes from first all the way down to 15th place to collect points in the race for green. We've seen Sonny Colbrelli from Bahrain Merida very active in those intermediate sprints. Michael Matthews has been conservative, so too is Peter Sagan, who continues to defend his lead in that classification. Way to spend the summer holidays. The peloton was invited. It was a public holiday on Monday for Bastille Day. It was the 15th of July then, not 14 Juillet. That was on the Sunday, but the public holiday that was held on the Monday. Back at the rear of the peloton, Dimension Data, they've had a pretty quiet sort of a tour so far. The biggest talking point has been the fight by Edvald Bosenhagen to get back in contact on the stage that was into Colmar.
Well, Matt, the Tour de France is not the only race going on in July. Of course, it's the one that gets the most publicity and has the big name riders. Of course, it's in the Tour of Austria. Last week, it finished. An interesting race on the moment is the Tour of Qinghai Lake in China. And We spoke just before about the Puy de Grange, the highest point of this Tour de France at 2,770 metres. Well, the Tour of Kinghai Lake, yesterday's stage, it was a stage with 2 climbs. The highest point on that stage, 3,745 metres above sea level.
That's nosebleed territory.
Guess which country had the riders who were first and second on the stage, considering those altitudes?
Colombia.
Yeah, correct. So more Colombians coming through. We've already spoken a lot about guys like Quintana, Uran, and now the youngest of these big-name riders, Egan Bernal. You look at the altitudes they're used to. I'm really looking forward to some of their performances above that 2,000 metre mark, where it really starts to bite in. And it looks like they've got more riders waiting in the wings to follow in their footsteps over the next few years. But those altitudes there, that race in China, approaching 4,000 metres above sea level.
Well, the intermediate sprint was at 2,200 metres off.
And that is where the plateau, that's one of the flat stages, they're all run above 2,000 metres.
And there was a sprint stage one there at the start of the race to get underway by Brenton Jones, the young Australian sprinter who rides with the French team, Damco Marseille. 2:25, this main peloton, they've really kept a tight handle on that breakaway group. They haven't given them too much time at all to play with. Teams at the front doing the chasing. Jumbo-Visma, they've won 4 stages already in this race. The Koenig Quick-Step, they've managed to pick up a couple of stage victories. Alaphilippe along with Viviani, plus they've got Julian Alaphilippe in the yellow jersey. Soudal Lotto, they're chasing. They've had a stage victory already. That's courtesy of Thomas de Gent. But today they are working for their sprinter, Caleb Ewan. Lilian Calvajan, the rider that initiated this breakaway, leaving his hometown of Albi.
A stage like tomorrow's with 130 kilometres on flat roads before 2 final climbs and then down to the finish. That's one the sprinters call a mental rest day. Just follow the wheels all the way through to the start of the climb, then just ride your own pace like it's a training ride through to the finish. It's a rolling day off.
Well, the intermediate sprint on tomorrow's stage, that comes with 79 kilometres to go, just as they hit the base of the Col de Peyrasourde. So before the first Category 1 climb, and it's when they go through the town of Bagnères-de-Luchon, one of the most visited towns in the history of the Tour. I can't help but wonder if Michael Matthews might try to sneak in the move there, and Peter Sagan would mark him if he does try to go in front.
He'll definitely mark if he tries to go in the break. And even if, say, it's only a group of 5 or 6 up the road and there's still points available at the intermediate sprint, the guys who want those points, they can afford to sprint full gas for it, because then they can just recover from it on the lower slopes of the Peyrasourde, lose a chunk of time, be dropped, and just roll their way in. So nothing to lose and nothing to worry about. It's not like they have to save themselves, say, oh, I won't sprint too hard because there's a climb coming. There'll be no danger from time limit.
2:25 from the chalkboard, at 2:13 courtesy of the GPS tracking with the breakaway and the main peloton. They're on the climb 2 kilometres before they get to the top. Another riders in this breakaway group, currently being led by Ahmed de Gent, number 193. None of them are a threat to the leader of the King of the Mountains classification, which is the Belgian Tim Wellens.
This one's just a Category 4 climb. It's average gradient less than 4%, 2.5 kilometres long. Only 1 point available at the top on the first climb of the day. It was Anthony Perez who went across the top, took the 2 points.
You can see the bandages once again on Alexis Villemos in these hot conditions, 31, 32 degrees, the maximum forecast at the finish line in Toulouse. It would be horribly, horribly uncomfortable. He has said he's struggling to sleep. It's Perez who wants to lead over the top of the climb, and that is more than understandable on local roads. Will he be challenged by Lilian Calvajan? The stage started in his hometown of Albi. Calvajan in blue sits and waits, and lets Anthony Perez collect 1 point at the top of the climb.
And the gap heading back out to 2.5 minutes. On On the lower slopes, you could see with the body language of the breakaway, they weren't riding as anywhere near as hard as they could. It was if they were almost backing into the peloton, saying, you're going to have to let us go a bit more, otherwise you're going to roll up to our back wheels. The peloton switches off a bit. Now the pace has gone back on in that breakaway group, and very quickly taken almost 30 seconds back again.
Well, the break got caught very early on stage 10 because of the intensity from the peloton with the crosswinds. We are hearing reports that the breeze is picking up a little bit. It was 12 kilometres per hour. It's now moved up to around about 16 kilometres per hour. A big day tomorrow for the yellow jersey, Julian Alaphilippe. He has said he is not letting himself dream about yellow in Paris. He's been enjoying the experience so far. How much longer does he have in that jersey? When he first collected it, Thomas Vauclair, the Frenchman who spent 2 10-day stints in various tours in that yellow jersey, said that he'd hold it until Pau, the individual time trial, which is 2 days away.
And I tend to think he's right. I think he will manage to come in to Bagnères de Bigorre with the race favourites on the first Pyrenean stage. If not with them, only just behind. I think whatever he's behind, if he is on that second climb, he'll catch up quite a lot of it on the downhill.
A successful day on stage 10 for the Movistar team. They managed to have Alejandro Valverde, Nairo Quintana in the front group, and that has moved them in the lead of the team's classification. It was a tough day for them though, because they had Mikel Landa, who was in the front group, and I didn't pick it up at the time when we were calling. It was an aerial shot that zoomed in that I saw on replay online only later on, and you can see that he was bumped off the side of the road accidentally by Warren Barguil whilst in the front group.
And this is the town just above where our KOM point is, Castelnau de Montmiral.
It's renowned for its town hall square, Place de la Marie, and Place de la Rose, the Rose Square. It was also a meeting place for pilgrims leaving for Rome or going the other direction in the way of St. James. It was really unfortunate for Movistar and Mikel Landa on stage 10. He was in the group, he made the split, and then Warren Barguil was sitting behind the yellow jersey of Julian Alaphilippe. His front wheel touched the back wheel of Alaphilippe. As a result of that, 1 foot came out for Warren Barguil, just managed to maintain his balance by a hip and shoulder on Mikel Landa, and the next thing that Mikel Landa knew, he was sitting on the ground between a couple of spectators looking down asking the question, are you okay?
They're really unfortunate for Landa.
And the gap has gone out to over 3 minutes, so we thought it would slow down for the peloton on this climb. It slowed down even...
Slowed down for the peloton, and I got the impression the pace was being picked up through to the line of the KOM. The pace was picked up by Perez, and as he came over the top, it was looking like he was maintaining that intensity on the way out of the village. But maybe they're thinking, this is a moment, the peloton's sitting up a bit, we can gain a bit of time on the climb, and now we'll just punch it a bit more and see if we can build ourselves a decent gap that we maybe just a slight chance of defending. But to have any hope at all at the moment, I think they'd need to have about 7 minutes. Richie Port there on the left-hand side of the picture. Trek Segafredo, one of the losers amongst the GC contenders 2 days ago. But he's still in good spirits, philosophical about it all, and he's just going to keep on trying, really waiting for the race to hit the mountains. And he's always been a good performer in the time trial, so he'll be looking for a good day out on the roads around Pau.
If anything, you would have hoped that the time trial was longer. It's only 27.2 kilometres, but it is a chance for Richie Port to A, get some time back, B, get some confidence back. A lot of that will depend though on what happens tomorrow. Stage 10 was a super tough day for Trek Segafredo. Richie Porte lost 1 minute and 40 seconds on his main rivals, including the defending champion, Geraint Thomas. They lost the lead in the team's classification, and they lost the white jersey with Giulio Ciccone, who was in the third group on the road, so it was a super tough day. Maximum 4 still on the front for Soudal Lotto. Now they get back on with the business of closing down the gap to the breakaway group of 4.
Well, just in the last 4 or 5 kilometres, the breakaway has taken about a minute 10 off the peloton. And now Montfort, Tony Martin, Casper Asgreen will be well aware of what's happening up the front, how the time gap grew, and they'll just start to up the tempo just slightly, still feeling like they're in control, guiding their sprinters in towards Toulouse for the expected bunch sprint finish.
Feeling like they're in control because they are in control.
And we've seen them riding with a tailwind over the last 25 kilometres or so. They're just about to turn a little bit more to the right, head south. The wind will be coming in directly from the side. It's a westerly at the moment as they ride to the south, but it's only blowing at 16 kilometres an hour in Gaillac, which is the next bigger village they're about to pass through. So no real danger of a split or anything like that. Won't stop teams getting organised together and just coming further up towards the front, just making sure, because they're all a bit antsy after a couple of days ago, even if the wind is only at 16 kilometres an hour.
And that is exactly what is happening. You can see the shuffling on the right-hand side of the screen. They're through the forest, they're over the hill, all of the Koenig Quickstep are at the front, and they're to a slightly more exposed part of the course. Everyone's a bit edgy after the big time losses on stage 10. Total Direct Energy, they have one rider in the breakaway. It's Lilian Calmejean today, the hometown hero. Another rider from that team that was in a break, it was on Bastille Day, and that's Roman Siccar. We caught up with Roma before today's stage got started. Here he is.
I think we can expect a really fast stage today, especially just after the rest day. Usually once everyone's recharged their batteries, they're feeling strong and motivated. On paper it's one for the sprinters, but you can't be sure of anything on the tour. And it's not completely flat. I know this region pretty well. It's bumpy, and the final won't be easy at all. You've got to try to be up towards the front. There's always a slim chance that the break will go all the way, even if it's only a small percentage. We're on the tour and we have an attacking team here at Total Direct Energy, so we have to be up at the front.
Total Direct Energy, they are the only team so far in this year's race without a single rider having a stage result inside the top 10. Their hopes for doing that today, they have one rider in the breakaway, Lilian Calmejean, but their best hope is their Italian sprinter, Nicolo Bonifacio. Age. Quintana has twice been second in the tour. He's been third. He's won the Giro d'Italia. He's won the Volta a España. If Jakob Fuglsang is worth €2 million, if he was, how much does that make Nairo Quintana worth?
Same amount, roughly.
He's done a lot more than Jakob Fuglsang.
Yeah, what's he going to do from now on?
Who's going to do more, Quintana or Fuglsang?
That's the €2 million question.
Indeed it is. Coming towards the intermediate sprint, it's Rosetto on the front, followed by Perez, then Calmejean, De Ghent, Armé De Ghent it is at the rear of the group. And this won't be a friendly roll through, 500 metres to go. And it is Rosetto who's doing the lead out for Perez. They are sprinting for the points. They want the honour of winning this intermediate sprint. They'll be convinced internally. They'll be realists. They'll be figuring we won't make it through to the finish line. So let's sprint. And De Ghent is going early, but Perez was ready. Now Perez, he's got to turn a speed. De Ghent still in the slipstream. Perez leading. De Ghent, has he got the legs to get over the top? He's waited. He waited too long. Perez holds him off. De Ghent in second. Calmejean third.
surprised at the turn of speed by Perez. I thought Ahmed Dihet would have had him covered. The more muscular looking rider as well.